Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. His lips tasted of salt, iron, and the crushing pressure of the deep abyss. I didn't expect my new roommate to tackle me the moment I unlocked the front door, pinning me against the hardwood with a strength that felt less like human muscle and more like the hydraulic force of a crashing wave. But the cold, suffocating pressure of his mouth against mine wasn't a greeting. It was an invasion. He didn't kiss me like a lover. He kissed me like a predator tasting the air, inhaling my exhale as if my oxygen was the only thing keeping him tethered to this mortal coil. When he finally pulled back, his eyes, irises the color of a bruised, stormy twilight, didn't hold a shred of apology. They held recognition. "You breathe fear," Kalen whispered, his voice a low vibration that rattled my ribs. "Good. That means you are still alive." 3 weeks prior, I had been a respected oceanographer at the precipice of a career-defining breakthrough. Now, I was Eris Thorne, a disgraced academic hiding in a glass-walled safehouse on the edge of the Pacific Northwest cliffs, saddled with a roommate I hadn't chosen. My benefactor, a wealthy and eccentric collector of rare things, had insisted. He told me Kalen needed a place to lie low, a place near the sea but hidden from the prying eyes of the relentless organizations that monitored the coastline. I needed the money. Kalen needed the obscurity. It seemed like a simple transaction. I was wrong. Living with Kalen was like cohabitating with a natural disaster that had paused to catch its breath. He was breathtakingly beautiful, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer with an iridescent sheen under the moonlight and hair like strands of midnight silk that always appeared slightly damp. But beneath the beauty lay a terrifying lethality. He didn't understand doors. He stared at the microwave as if it were a dark magic ritual. And he spent hours on the balcony, enduring the freezing rain in nothing but thin linen trousers, staring out at the turbulent ocean with a longing that looked painful. "Why did you do that?" I asked, my voice trembling as I touched my bruised lips. We were standing in the dim hallway, the rain lashing against the floor-to-ceiling windows. "You attacked me." Kalen tilted his head, a gesture more avian than human. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, his gaze tracking the pulse jumping in my throat. "In my home, the exchange of breath is the only way to know another's intent. Words are lies, Eris. Breath is truth. I needed to know if you had betrayed me to the hunters." "I don't even know who the hunters are," I snapped, trying to regain some semblance of dominance in my own home. And a simple hello would have sufficed. Kalen stepped closer, invading my personal space again. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Hello is for strangers. You and I, we are hive mates now. We share a cave. If you betray me, the tide will take you." That was not a threat, Eris. It is simply the law of the water. I should have kicked him out then. I should have called my benefactor and demanded an explanation. But as Kalen walked away, the water from his damp hair dripping onto the floorboards, I saw the jagged, weeping scars running down his back. Marks that looked like they had been made by harpoons. Curiosity is a scientist's fatal flaw. Mine was about to be my undoing. The days that followed fell into a strange, hypnotic rhythm. I worked on my research, analyzing deep-sea acoustic anomalies, while Kalen existed in my periphery, a haunting specter of grace and danger. He moved silently. I would turn from my computer to find him standing directly behind me, reading my screen with intense focus. "That sound," he said one evening, pointing a long, pale finger at the spectrograph on my monitor. The audio file was playing a low, mournful groan recorded in the Mariana Trench. "You labeled it tectonic shifting." "It is," I said, adjusting my glasses. "The plates grinding together." "No," Kalen corrected softly. "That is a mourning song. A mother calling for a calf taken by the black nets." I spun my chair around to face him. "How could you possibly know that? That frequency is barely audible to the human ear." Kalen's eyes locked onto mine. For a second, his pupils dilated into vertical slits before snapping back to round. I never said I was human, Eris. The silence that stretched between us was heavy, charged with static electricity. My heart hammered against my ribs. I had suspected, of course. The cold skin, the aversion to cooked food, the way he drank salt water mixed with tap water. But hearing it confirmed shifted the axis of my world. What are you? I whispered. He leaned down, placing a hand on the armrests of my chair, trapping me. He smelled of ozone and petrichor. I am the thing that sailors pray they never see. I am the storm that breaks the hull. But right now, I am a refugee. His face was inches from mine. The tension wasn't just fear anymore. It was something darker, hotter. The magnetism of a top predator drawing in its prey. I found myself leaning in, inexplicably drawn to the danger of him. Why are you here, Kalen? Why hide on land? Because the ocean is no longer safe for my bloodline, he murmured, his gaze dropping to my lips. The Institute, your hunters. They poison the currents. They utilize a toxin, black iron, that binds to our gills and burns us from the inside out. I must purge it. To do that, I must be dry. I must be vulnerable. He looked anything but vulnerable. He looked like a fallen god plotting his ascension. And if they find you here? I asked. Then I will paint your pristine glass walls with their blood, he said simply. And I will drag you into the depths with me, Eris. Because you know my secret now. And the sea keeps its secrets. The turning point came during the equinox storm. The weather reports called it the worst typhoon in a decade, but Kalen called it the summoning. The power grid failed around midnight. The apartment was plunged into darkness, illuminated only by the strobe light flashes of lightning that tore through the sky. The ocean below was a churning cauldron of black violence, waves smashing against the cliff face with enough force to shake the foundation of the house. I found Kalen in the living room. He was on his knees, his shirt discarded, his body convulsing. Kalen! I rushed to him, dropping to my knees. His skin was burning hot, feverish. Strange, bioluminescent patterns were glowing beneath his skin, intricate, tribal markings that pulsed in time with the thunder. Scales, iridescent and sharp as razors, were patching across his shoulders and ribs. It hurts, he gasped, his voice sounding like grinding stones. The purge is failing. I need salt, high concentration. The bathtub, I commanded, adrenaline overriding my shock. I hauled him up. He was incredibly heavy, his bone density far surpassing a human's. I dragged him to the master bathroom and filled the large soaking tub, dumping every container of sea salt I had in the pantry, mixing it frantically. I helped him into the water. As he sank into the brine, a hiss of steam rose from the water. He arched his back, a guttural cry tearing from his throat that sounded like a whale song, vibrating through the floorboards and shattering the mirror above the sink. Eris, he choked out, his hand shooting out to grip my wrist. His grip was bruising. Do not let go. I need an anchor. I'm here, I said, gripping his hand back with both of mine. I'm not leaving. He looked at me then, his defenses stripped away by pain. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a raw, naked need. Why? I threatened you. I am a monster. You're my roommate, I said, a hysterical laugh bubbling up. And I'm a scientist. We don't abandon discovery. Kalen pulled me closer. The water sloshed over the rim. He rested his forehead against mine, his wet hair plastering to my skin. You are not a scientist right now, he whispered. You are a keeper. My keeper. The moment was shattered by the sound of glass breaking in the main room. Boots on the floor. Heavy, tactical treads. Voices shouting orders. Target located. Infrared signature confirmed in the North Quadrant. The Institute. Kalen's eyes snapped open. The pain vanished, replaced by a cold, reptilian fury. The bioluminescence under his skin flared from soft blue to a violent, warning red. They found us, he hissed. Stay here, I whispered, panic seizing my throat. You're too weak. No, Kalen growled. He stood up, water cascading off his sculpted form. The scales on his shoulders hardened into armor. His fingernails elongated into translucent, serrated claws. I am done hiding. He didn't look like a man anymore. He looked like a weapon. The fight was a blur of shadows and violence. 3 men in tactical gear stormed the hallway. They held tranquilizer rifles modified with harpoon tips. Dr. Thorne, the lead mercenary barked, aiming his weapon at my chest. Step away from the specimen. Get out of my house. I yelled, shielding Kalen with my body. It was an irrational, suicidal move. I was a soft academic standing in front of an apex predator, protecting him from armed soldiers. But Kalen didn't let me play the hero. With a movement too fast for my eyes to track, Kalen moved. He didn't run, he flowed. He was water in motion, unstoppable and devastating. He grabbed the barrel of the lead mercenary's rifle and crushed the metal like it was paper. You brought iron into my domain, Kalen roared. His voice layered with a subsonic frequency that made my teeth ache. He threw the man through the drywall. The other 2 opened fire. Harpoons whistled through the air. One grazed Kalen's arm, drawing bright, teal blood. Kalen didn't flinch. He extended a hand, and the water from the fish tank in the hallway exploded outward. He controlled it, shaping the liquid into whips of high-pressure force. He lashed out, the water hitting the mercenaries with the force of a fire hose, slamming them against the far wall and pinning them there. It was over in seconds. The room was destroyed, water pooling everywhere, the mercenaries groaning in unconscious heaps. Kalen stood amidst the wreckage, his chest heaving. The red glow beneath his skin was fading back to blue. He turned to me, his claws retracting, but his eyes were still wild. You stood in front of me, he said, sounding genuinely baffled. You have no shell, no venom. You are fragile. Yet you stood in front of the harpoons. I told you, I said, my voice shaking as the adrenaline crash hit me. I don't abandon my own. Kalen crossed the room. He looked at the wreckage, then at me. The realization of what had just happened settled between us. The secret was out. The safety was gone. We were fugitives now. You can never go back to your life, Eris, he said solemnly. They will mark you as a collaborator. You are one of us now. I know, I breathed. He reached out, cupping my face with hands that were cold and wet and terrifyingly gentle. Then I must finish the ritual. What ritual? The greeting, he murmured. The first time, I took your breath to taste your fear. I took it to test you. He leaned in, his lips hovering millimeters from mine. Now, he whispered, I take your breath to give you mine, to share the air, to bind your life to the tide. He kissed me. This time it wasn't an invasion. It was a coronation. It was deep, hungry, and devastatingly sensual. I tasted the salt on his tongue, felt the strange, electric hum of his magic transferring into me, felt like swallowing a star. My lungs burned, not with pain, but with expansion. I felt the rhythm of his heart, slow, powerful, vast, syncing with my own rabbit-quick pulse. He deepened the kiss, his hands sliding down to grip my waist, pulling me flush against his damp, hard body. I clung to him, my fingers tangling in his wet hair, realizing with a jolt of terror and exhilaration that I had fallen in love with a monster. When we finally broke apart, I was gasping, but the air felt different, thicker, richer. What did you do? I asked, looking into his eyes. They were no longer stormy. They were clear, like the sun breaking through the water's surface. I marked you, Kalen said possessively. The ocean will not drown you now, Eris, and no hunter will touch you without answering to the king of the abyss. He looked at the unconscious men, then back to me, a wicked, sharp-toothed grin spreading across his face. We need a new cave, he said. Are you ready to run, my little scientist? I looked at the ruined apartment, at my past life shattered on the floor. I looked at the man, the creature, who had just bound his soul to mine. I took his hand. I'm ready, And that is how the viper of the deep tamed the wolf of the land. If you enjoyed seeing Eris surrender to his dangerous destiny, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a roommate who tried to kill you if he promised to make you a king? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,